What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Sean Strickland makes shocking comments about the UFC. Although Sean Strickland has made plenty of head-turning and controversial comments in recent years, the former middleweight champ, at least publicly, hasn't been disciplined by UFC brass. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. But it'll be interesting to see whether that could change, since the outspoken fighter continues to blast the UFC over fighter pay. If you follow Strickland as he's established himself as one of the UFC's top middleweights and biggest draws, you know that he's made headlines many times due to controversial statements. While Dana White has seemed agitated with Strickland at various points, the veteran has remained a key piece in the promotion's middleweight division. But in recent months, Strickland has also ramped up his criticism over what the UFC pays fighters. Case in point, check out what he had to say recently while talking to Aiden Ross.
I don't know, dude. Like, the problem with the UFC, dude, is they don't pay anybody. They don't pay guys. So, like, the reason why you're seeing everybody in the roster is Ahmed and, Jose and whatever Brazilian name, and it's because, like, the UFC hasn't paid these guys money. So I think what you're going to have is you're going to have an entire roster filled of just foreigners. Don't get me wrong, dude. It's fun to go watch two Dagestani cavemen fight, but at some point, dude, like, they aren't American. They don't have American beliefs. They don't have American ideals. So it's like, at some point, when the whole roster doesn't speak English because the UFC is so cheap and they don't pay anybody anything, like, at some point, so they pay the top 5 and pretty good, but they don't pay, like, you would make more money working at for a year.
It'll be interesting to see whether Strickland's rhetoric impacts his relationship with the promotion. While Dana White has been a big advocate for free speech in recent years, it's very likely the UFC brass doesn't care for Strickland shining a spotlight on the company's compensation model. But what do you make of Strickland's comments here? And do you think the UFC will try to find a way to reduce Strickland's platform? Khamzat Chimaev provides an update on hand and trolls Kamaru Usman. Over the weekend, Khamzat Chimaev posted a picture of his hand that was covered with blisters. Today, Khamzat posted a story telling everyone that everything is okay, and at the end, he trolled Kamaru Usman. Check it out.
I am good. Life is good. Bilal is good. Paysangur is good. Coffee is here. Kamaru Usman is there.
Khamzat also posted training footage for his next UFC fight with his hands wrapped. Are you excited for UFC 319? Who do you see winning that fight? Khamzat or DDP? MMA community reacts to Khabib declining handshake. A clip of Khabib is going viral after he declined a handshake from a female reporter and then proceeded to shake the hands of all the men around him. The woman apologized for her mistake, not knowing that Khabib's Islamic religion doesn't believe in the man touching another woman unless it's his wife or family. Here's what the MMA community had to say. Some guys, some as advertised. Honorable. It's a respect to his wife. He doesn't touch other women. She apologized because she saw that he declined her gesture politely. Speed's face when Khabib refused the handshake. She already knew he wasn't going to shake her hands. Khabib is renowned for being a devout Muslim. She deliberately did that to set him up for drags. Thankfully, Khabib could never care less. Khabib just refused a handshake, but you never post Conor McGregor aggression against women. Why? Khabib respectfully declining a woman's handshake is causing drama. What a world we live in. It's not like it's offensive even. He refused a handshake because he's a married man. He reserves his body strictly for his wife. The levels of control Khabib has is something people will never understand. There's nothing civilized about a society that's fine with women being half naked, but finds a man refusing a handshake disrespectful. Khabib never said she was Islamophobic. Kate apologized because she felt it was the right thing to do. The double standard is wild. It's not ignorance at this point everyone knows Khabib's values. The handshake thing feels staged for clicks, even Kate Abdo must have known. feels more like a setup than a genuine moment, and it's getting boring now. Garry talks about a potential Islam Makhachev fight. Several things have to fall into place before a showdown between Ian Machado Garry and Islam Makhachev materializes. But recently, Garry made it clear that if Makhachev wins the UFC's welterweight title, he will drive hard to face the star. Garry recently ensured that he remains in the title shot mix by recording a unanimous decision win over Carlos Prates in April. That bout marked the first time Garry had competed since he lost a close decision to the undefeated Shavkat Rakhmonov in late 2024. Well, more recently, Garry spoke with Covers.com, and while discussing a potential showdown with Makhachev, Garry noted he's got no personal issues with the former lightweight champ, unlike the massive ones that existed between Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. If people want to mark it as Dagestan versus Ireland, if me and Islam Makhachev ever cross paths, then they can. But I feel like that's bringing in two people like Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov who have had their rivalry and have done and said the things they've said. The truth is, this is Dagestan versus Ireland, but it would be Islam versus Ian. Garry also said this: "We can bring up the past or we can focus on the present. Islam right now is the pound for pound number one. He's trying to move up and fight for the welterweight world title, and if he wins, there's absolutely every scenario that I'm gonna call for that fight. Because there's nothing more I want to do than go out there and beat the number one pound for pound, get the belt and prove that I'm one of the best in the world." What do you think? If Garry and Makhachev end up fighting, will people go with the Ireland versus Dagestan angle or not so much? Of course, Makhachev first has to take the welterweight title from Jack Della Maddalena. Erin Blanchfield goes off on Maycee Barber. As this video is being produced, it's not clear what exactly happened to Maycee Barber right before the headliner for UFC Vegas 107 was yanked. But while talking to the press afterward, Erin Blanchfield didn't hold back from lighting up her rival. The flyweight contenders were supposed to battle in the main event of Saturday's card, but as the headliner was set to begin on the broadcast, it was announced that Barber had not been medically cleared to compete. It was even reported that the fight was canceled moments before Barber was scheduled to walk out to the cage. The fight's cancellation came a day after Barber had failed to make weight for the fight, which Blanchfield noted while talking to the press afterward.
I feel like I'm still pretty in disbelief right now. I feel like I was in disbelief yesterday when she missed weight, because we knew about this fight since January. You could have been 50 pounds overweight and still made weight, you know what I mean? So she missed weight, then she gets to Saturday, she gets to the locker room, I'm fully ready to go. She's supposed to be ready to go. Supposedly now she has like all these health issues right when we were supposed to fight. I think it's pretty crazy, pretty unprofessional. Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight her again.
It'll be interesting to see if we learn more about what transpired, and hopefully Barber is okay and recovers quickly. Blanchfield also reportedly said that she was told by the UFC's Hunter Campbell that Barber had a seizure, but there's been no official word on that. It's also worth noting that Barber was set to compete for the first time since 299 in March of 2024, which she recorded a decision win over Caitlin Kermanara. Following that win, however, Barber was reportedly hospitalized for multiple days due to pneumonia, strep throat, and a staph infection. If you're wondering, Blanchfield did receive some compensation for her training camp and for making weight. Her management announced this afterward. Blanchfield MMA will be paid her show and win bonus after Maycee Barber was forced to pull out just moments before the walkout. Given it sounds like Blanchfield won't sign on the dotted line to fight Barber again, who do you want to see her fight? Maycee Barber later went on to break silence on the entire situation on social media by writing, "Not what I had planned for a Sunday post. Thank you to everyone for the prayers and support. I owe an apology to UFC, Mick Maynard, Dana White, Sean Shelby, and Blanchfield MMA. P.S. My life is not messy. This is just a bad hand. We will get to the bottom of it all and be back." Merab went easy on Sean O'Malley during the first fight. Merab Dvalishvili is a considerable favorite on the betting lines to defeat Sean O'Malley for a second time, and if you believe recent comments he made, you probably won't be scrutinizing the odds. Dvalishvili and O'Malley are set to fight in the headliner of UFC 316, taking place on June 7th. Back in September in their first fight, Merab leveraged his absurd cardio and wrestling to record a unanimous decision win, but O'Malley proceeded to argue that he should have been awarded the fight. While that opinion did not become the consensus, some did side with O'Malley. Well, recently, Merab spoke with the Schmo. According to the bantamweight champ, there's going to be no room for debate on who won the bout, following UFC 316. Here was some of what he had to say. "I do have extra motivation to finish this fight because in the first fight I was going easy on him, but this time I'm looking for the finish. It's nothing against him, this is sport, and that's what we do, and I just want to make a statement this time. Yeah, I was laughing, I was showboating and stuff, and then I was kissing him." Merab proceeded to clarify that, "No, I'm not planning on kissing in this fight. I'm planning to finish him, and if a kiss will come, I never plan this stuff. It's just natural and depends on how I'm going to feel. I already kiss him, and now it's time to smash him." It's going to be fascinating to see how the rematch plays out. Do you believe Merab really took it easy on Sugar? And do you see O'Malley reclaiming the bantamweight crown? Noche UFC will now be a fight night card. After an unforgettable and historic UFC Noche card that went down in 2024, it's increasingly looking like this year's event will be nowhere near as big. If you're a big fight fan, you know that last September, UFC Noche went down at the Sphere, and it delivered on the venue's hype big time. The card also featured 2 title fights, as Merab ended Sean O'Malley's reign as the bantamweight champion, and Valentina Shevchenko reclaimed the flyweight crown from Alexa Grasso. Well, the plans for this year's Noche card were originally for the UFC to hold a pay-per-view in Guadalajara, Mexico. Although the fights were not announced for this event yet, the consensus was it would feature at least 1 title fight. At one point, it was rumored that the UFC was looking at having featherweight king Alexander Volkanovski fight Yair Rodriguez again at this event. But more recently, the UFC announced the following. The 3rd annual Noche UFC card will now take place at Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, Texas on September 13. The Noche UFC Fight Night card will celebrate and honor the remarkable contributions of Mexican fighters to combat sports and continues UFC's great tradition of holding an event around Mexican Independence Day. It's also been reported that due to construction delays with the arena in Guadalajara, the card is moving. And this doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that the card won't feature any must-see fights. One would assume that the UFC will work hard to add notable Mexican fighters to the event. But given it's no longer a pay-per-view event, it would be kind of surprising if a stacked card featuring a lot of contenders materializes. What do you think of this news? And who do you want to see fight at the UFC's latest Noche event? UFC updates. Let's take a look at some UFC updates and fight news. Al Zulino is reporting that the UFC's August 23 card in Shanghai, China will feature a compelling flyweight fight between Loner Kavanagh and Charles Johnson. Kavanagh has recorded decision wins over Felipe Dos Santos and Jose Ochoa since he made his way to the big show via Dana White's Contender Series. Meanwhile, Johnson is coming off a decision loss to Ramazan Tamirov in March, which snapped the American's 4-fight winning streak. SportillyNet.kz recently reported that Uran Satibaldi and Dair Nurgazai will battle in a heavyweight fight at the August 23 card in Shanghai. Satibaldi is coming off the first loss of his professional career, as Martin Budai defeated him by unanimous decision in April. Nurgazai was also defeated for the first time in his career in his last fight, as the Kazakh fighter was submitted by Brenset Ribeiro in March. And following Jared Gordon's impressive knockout of Thiago Moises last month, he's calling for a fight with Benoit Saint-Denis. While talking with Home of Fight recently, here is what Gordon had to say when asked about who he wants to fight next. I mean, I want a top 15. I don't know if I'm going to get it off of a knockout win. I'm only on a 1-fight streak. Granted, I really believe I am on like 6-fight winning streak or whatever it is. 5. I would love a top 15. Would love to fight BSD, somewhere up there in the rankings. On paper, there's a lot to like in Gordon versus BSD, but you do have to wonder if Saint-Denis would take it given that he's ranked number 13 in the lightweight division. Do you want to see this fight? And who do you think would win? As this video is being produced, the MMA world is still waiting to see if Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira will run it back. But the light heavyweight champion continues to post comments, or at least someone in his camp is, that alludes to Poatan not taking the fight. Following Ankalaev's decision win over Pereira in March, the consensus was that the UFC would book a rematch. After all, Poatan had defended the light heavyweight crown 3 times, and he's one of the UFC's biggest stars. But there's still no word on if and when the rematch is happening. More recently, this comment was posted via Ankalaev's social media channels. Alex done. He never coming back. Let's move on. June, July, August, I said yes. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Ever since Pereira claimed that his social media had been hacked after a comment was posted that accused the promotion of messing with him and noted that Poatan was thinking about retiring, there's been a lot of speculation about what's going on. Some have wondered if Pereira wants to take some time off before facing Ankalaev again, and that the UFC was hoping to leverage the rematch as a headliner this summer. If Pereira is indeed not an option for Ankalaev next, who do you want for the new champion to fight? Jon Jones confirms Tom Aspinall fight. June is officially underway, and we still have no idea if and when Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall will fight to unify the heavyweight titles. But due to recent comments that Jones made at a seminar, some are wondering if just maybe Bones has confirmed that he is going to battle Tom. Following Jones's win over Stipe Miocic last November, he finally opened the door to the possibility of fighting Aspinall. The heavyweight champ did say the UFC would need to write him a big fat check to make that bout happen. So at the time, optimism started to build that the fight could happen. Well, not only is 2025 nearing its midway point, and there's still no word on the fight, Jones has been trolling the MMA world incessantly about its future. But as noted, due to these comments he recently made, some people are wondering if the fight could be signed.
When are you fighting Tom?
I was waiting for it.
When are you fighting Tom? Like, Governor.
The UFC, and Tom, we all got a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. They're one of the biggest organizations in sports, and right now, Tom and I have agreed to wait for the UFC to make their announcements. So I'm legally.
What do you make of Jones's comments here? Could this mean that he's come to an agreement with the UFC for the long-discussed All-Star fight? Or could this also mean that Jones is retiring and that the UFC is about to announce a unification fight that doesn't include him? The comments come at a time when a petition calling for Jones to be stripped of the heavyweight title has received several signatures. A counter petition has also been launched that argues that Bones should remain champion. Well, Jones is using the petition to troll fans in the UK. Check out the back and forth he and Aspinall recently had via social media. Just wrapped up the biggest seminar in Phuket history. Half the crowd flew in from the UK. How wild is that? Massive shout out to my guy Tom for all the free promo. Couldn't have done it without you. Seriously though, I'm beyond grateful for this brand new UK following. You guys showed up with so much love and energy, and I felt every bit of it. Let's keep this momentum going. Make sure to sign that petition today. We're pushing 200K. How exciting. To which Aspinall responded with, "My pleasure, John. Told you I'm not glad you're enjoying retirement." What do you think are the odds that Jones and Aspinall are going to fight? And at this point, if they do fight, do you think November is likely? Meaning it'll be 1 year since Jones last competed, and close to 1.5 years since Aspinall has fought. Jon Jones accused of serious allegations by UFC ref. Jon Jones was accused of allegedly performing an adult act on a male commissioner without his consent before one of his fights, according to former UFC referee Big John McCarthy. And before we continue, we have a favor to ask. Help us reach 200,000 subscribers on MMA Zone by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day. He claims that Jon jokingly had the commissioner get on the ground where he pretended to do an explicit act on the commissioner, and then asked if it was illegal if he did it to an opponent. Here's John McCarthy explaining the situation.
But when I went into John's locker room, he's bouncing around, he's having a good time, and he said, "I got a question for you. I said, "Yeah, what's your question?" And he says, I need somebody. And there's an individual there, and that individual was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and was working for the commission. And he says, "Is someone getting on the ground for me?" Right? And so this guy, being a ground guy and being someone that was, man, I'm in Jon Jones's locker room. This is great. And so he says, "Oh, I'll do it for you." He says, I know how to roll." And so he goes down. He says, just put me in guard, right? And then Jon decides to do a act with him, saying, "What if I do this, right? This isn't illegal, right?" And the guy who was on the ground, quickly his eyes went, as big as they could get. Like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Jon, knock it off, right?" And I helped the person up. And he goes, "I'm just joking." And he goes, "But really, what could you do?" I said, "I could disqualify you for being unsportsmanlike. Go ahead and do it. Let's see what happens."
I could see if he did that like with a buddy of his, like goofing around in the back. It's different than some random commissioner in the back, a random fan, a random person who's working as an usher or something like that. You're like, "Yeah, get down here," and then you do it to some person you've never met before.
Dude, and that's why Greg Jackson comes up to me and says, "John, I'm sorry he did that." And I go, "Greg, it ain't you." And I go, "He's just a."
Yep. I mean, like I said, a lot of the choices that he's made throughout his life has directly affected, I think, how people perceive him.
Yeah.